Today's video is going to be a little different from what I normally do. The point of today's video is to validate the pain of those that have survived narcissistic abuse and to give hope that there is healing and that there is an end to the pain. Welcome to Looking Behind the Mirror, where we explore narcissism and take our lives back as we make sense out of nonsense. As a quick disclaimer, everything I say is based on my opinions and my personal experiences. I'm not a professional, and if you're really struggling, I encourage you to seek professional help. I am providing links below for you. I try not to get too personal in these videos because I want to protect the identity of the people that I'm talking about, and I also don't want this channel to be about me. This channel is about all survivors of narcissistic abuse. It's to validate those that are still suffering and to provide clarity and a place where we all can see what we have in common, where we can resonate with each other's experiences. I'm going to get a little more personal today than I normally do because I want those out there that are still suffering to know that there's hope. I want to describe how much pain I was in when I was in the beginning of my journey, in hopes that anyone out there that is feeling the same kind of pain will be able to see that there is an end to it, that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and that there is hope. I'm going to describe the kind of pain and distress I was in, and I want you to remember that I healed. I found an end to that pain. Although some things are always painful, my pain is now a memory. These are painful memories, but I'm not living in present pain like I was. And also, I hope it goes without saying that I'm not describing this pain for any kind of pity. I just really want anyone that's feeling the same way to understand that they're not alone and that I felt this way too, and many people have felt this way. I also want to say that not everyone's experience is the same. I've had more than one experience where I had to recover from some sort of narcissistic relationship. And while they are all painful and traumatizing in their own way, and they all require a road of recovery of some sort, some are much more painful than others. Some recovery processes take much longer and are much more severe. I'm going to describe the experience I had that was the most difficult to recover from, that was the real wake-up call for me and the reason that I started this channel. The people that I'm making this video for are the people that don't feel like there's any end to the pain, that feel like they don't know how they're going to continue living in this pain, that are trying to find an escape or a solution. I know for me, there was almost a desperate sense of wanting to heal the pain or wanting to find that secret technique or magic ingredient that was going to finally soothe the pain and make it go away and make me feel better. I understand that desperation, and I want you to know that there is an end to it. For me personally, I was constantly searching for something that would make me feel better. I was watching tons of YouTube videos, I was binging YouTube videos, and I was reading everything I could get my hands on, and I was spending hours and hours a day on public forums, really just looking for an answer, really just looking for something that would make me feel better, looking to somehow heal myself and solve this pain that I was in. And now I think I'm putting off trying to describe the pain because it's really hard to describe, but I think it's important. The pain that I was in, for me, it didn't really set in until after the relationship ended, because I think I was so distracted by the fear and the trauma of trying to safely escape an abusive relationship that after I was finally out of danger and the relationship was over, that's when it really set in. That's when the pain really came into the picture. For me personally, the relationship that I'm talking about ended pretty suddenly. It was a long-term relationship that lasted 4 years, but my realization that it was abusive and my realization that I was dealing with a pathological mindset was very sudden. And it suddenly became very clear to me that this problem I had been trying to solve for so long really didn't have a solution to it. The solution was to leave the relationship. This all dawned on me very quickly, and the relationship that I had been in for years ended in a matter of weeks after this realization I had. So for me, the analogy I like to use to describe the sudden pain I was in was if you had an ache in your arm hurt, and you continually went to the doctor over and over again to try to understand why your arm hurt a little bit. And it didn't seem like that awful. It was just something that really bothered you a lot, and you just could never figure out what was wrong with your arm. And imagine that you finally go to the right doctor one day, and the doctor finally realizes that you have some terrible gangrenous growth in your arm, and the only answer is to chop your arm off right now to save your life, and you don't even have time to think about it. To me, that's kind of how the end of my relationship felt. I had spent all this time in a little bit of misery, desperately trying to figure out how to solve the problems in my relationship, never really being able to find any answers, and then very suddenly realizing that the answer was I needed to get out of this relationship ASAP. The pain was similar to losing a limb. It was very severe and sudden and shocking. I knew that while I was experiencing it, that there really was no other way, or no other way that I wanted to consider, but I was still reeling with pain and reeling with trying to learn how to function without this relationship that I had become so emotionally dependent on. For the first few months of my recovery, I remember having moments where the emotional pain was so severe. I had the very distinct feeling that there was no way that I could feel any more pain than what I was feeling. So if something worse or something else would have happened at that point in my life, it would have hurt, but I wouldn't have been able to feel any more pain than what I was already feeling. And I knew at the time that there were situations that people could go through that would generally be considered worse than what I was experiencing. I knew that I still had things that I was very fortunate to have, and I knew that it could be worse, but that didn't change the fact that my emotional pain was at this threshold that I couldn't feel any more emotional pain than I already did. And it didn't really matter that what I was experiencing might not be something that somebody else would understand as something painful. When you're experiencing that kind of pain, you come to realize that it's not a contest, that everybody experiences pain, and some people reach that threshold and some people maybe never do. But there's really no recipe to getting there. There's really no predictable way to know what it is that's going to cause you that much pain. I remember being in a state of obsession. I couldn't think of anything else but healing from my relationship and the trauma of my relationship. And I remember being in a constant state of wondering where this person was, if this person was going to change, if this person was around the next corner. It was a mix of fear that I was going to bump into this person and toxic hope that maybe this person would change and come around. I was also preoccupied with what I would say if I was to run into this person, or what I might write in a letter. I was strictly no contact, but I was constantly tempted to reach out, and I was constantly trying to come up with the right words that would finally get through to this person. In a way, I was still trying to solve these relationship problems that had no solution to them. I remember breaking down into hysterics regularly, probably at least twice a week for the first little while. And when I say breaking down into hysterics, I would cry and I would actually scream if I was where nobody could hear me. Almost as if I was purging the pain. It was almost as if I was vomiting, but there was just no end to what was coming up. It was just pain with no end to it. I know some of you may wonder how long I went through this and how long it took me to feel better, and I'm hesitant to put timelines on this because it did take me quite a long time. I don't want anybody to feel discouraged, and I know that everyone's going to heal at a different time. So it might take you 6 months to feel better, or it might take you 3 or 4 years, maybe even longer. there really is no way to predict this, and there's no right or wrong. I just want you all to know that there's hope, and that if you don't give up, and that if you keep moving forward, believing that there is something better at the end of this very painful journey, that there is joy again and excitement. You will wake up one morning and it won't be the first thing that pops in your head. You will be able to have conversations with people and do things again without it being right there in the front of your mind. And if that day is going to come, does it really matter when? I know that it's hard to imagine right now when you're in the middle of it, but this time will pass. No matter how much time it is, it will pass. You will heal. You will feel better again. And no matter how much time it takes, it will be worth it. And to go back again to describing the pain I was in, I also felt as if there was nowhere to run from the pain, especially when I was in these episodes of just crying and even screaming. I remember feeling like I couldn't hold the pain. I couldn't tolerate the pain, but there was nowhere to go from it. There was no way to feel relief from it. Now, obviously, there are unhealthy ways to deal with this pain. There's substance abuse, and there's also jumping into rebound relationships that are probably just as, if not more, toxic than the relationships you escaped from. And of course, there's going back to the relationship that caused all this pain in the first place. These obviously are not good solutions to the pain, and they're temporary, and they will leave you in more pain than you were trying to escape from in the first place. I think that we can all cognitively understand that, but that's real easy to say when you're in this intense pain and you're pretty desperate for an escape from it. I just want to say to those that feel that way that it is worth holding on and not taking those unhealthy routes to escape. It is worth sitting in the pain. It is worth just allowing yourself to feel that intense pain and not to run away from it, because there is an end to it if you're able to do that. That being said, I think that the coping mechanisms that I leaned on, which were unhealthy, were allowing my mind to engage in toxic hope and also being preoccupied with sort of revenge fantasies, and also being preoccupied with trying to find a solution. So as far as the toxic hope went, I very stubbornly stuck to no contact, and I'm very glad that I did. However, I couldn't really stop my mind from entertaining the idea that maybe things would change. Maybe this person would see the light. Maybe things would turn around. Maybe there was still hope. And I think that helped me cope a little bit, as unhealthy as that was. And I also, on the other hand, had fantasies of how I might get revenge someday, or what things I might say that might finally get through to this person. And I think that was also an unhealthy coping mechanism. But both of these coping mechanisms didn't really help me feel better. They took the edge off a little bit, but they left me frustrated and empty because there really was no end to it, and they really didn't solve my problem. I also remember through this process getting to know myself, which I think is very important when you're healing from narcissistic abuse. I understood and was very dedicated to understanding why I stayed in this kind of relationship for as long as I did, and why I thought that being treated this way was acceptable. Why it was that my reaction to the way I was treated was to stay and try to fix it, rather than to recognize that I deserved better and that I needed to leave. This was a very deep, soul-searching journey for me. And in this process, I came to recognize that for whatever reason, I seemed to be attracted to these kinds of people. And I do talk about this in other videos, but my worry at the time was that maybe I was broken, and that maybe I would never really find love, and maybe I would never really fall in love with somebody that was healthy for me. And at the time, that worry for me was something that I was willing to accept if it meant never having to feel the kind of pain I was in and never having to experience that kind of relationship again. I really entertained the idea that I would never again find love, and that I would basically be alone for the rest of my life. Now, in my opinion, it is better to be alone than to spend your life in an abusive relationship. I did accept that I would rather be alone than to end up where I'd been again. And I accepted the possibility that I might only be attracted to these types of people. However, without giving away too much personal information, I want you to know that in my healing journey and with the way I changed and with the building of my confidence and the kinds of people that I wanted to be around as I changed and grew, this was not the case for me. I have learned to become attracted to healthy people, and I'm not going to be alone for the rest of my life. Romantic love for me is a very, very different world from what it used to be, but I've grown and changed, and so has that dynamic in my life. I'm no longer attracted to toxic people. And I just want anyone out there that's worried about the same things that I was worried about to know that there's hope for you and that you can change the types of people that you're attracted to if you do the work on yourself. I also want to talk about what I perceive as depression. Now, I've never been diagnosed with depression, but I will describe that I felt that I no longer found joy in pretty much anything. I used to love to listen to music, and I no longer really wanted to listen to music. And I used to love to travel, love to go camping, love to go places, and I was no longer excited by these things. I still did them because I felt like it was just good for me, and it was part of my healing journey to continue to travel and continue to do these things that I had always loved and enjoyed, but I no longer felt excited by it. I no longer got the joy out of life that I used to. I'm going to reiterate what I always say at the beginning of my videos, and that's if you're really struggling, I encourage you to seek professional help. So don't take what I say as a substitute for professional advice, but I just want to provide hope to anybody that's feeling the same way that for me, I do feel joy again. I do feel excitement again. I'm happy again. I'm no longer preoccupied with pain. I'm no longer preoccupied with obsessive thoughts of trauma and trying to solve things that can't be solved. And if you're anything like I was, after hearing me say all of these things, you might be wondering how. How did you heal from narcissistic abuse? My answer might not be what you're looking for, because if you're anything like how I was, you might be looking for that magic bullet. You might be looking for that secret ingredient, and there really isn't one. That's what I've come to learn. I did a lot of different things. I did journaling. I found that helpful. Meditation, I found very helpful. Professional therapy was very helpful for me. And as I just touched on, I kind of forced myself to continue to do things like travel, because I knew that was something that I enjoyed, even though I wasn't really feeling it while I was doing it. So those are the things that I did. I also feel like binging YouTube videos was very validating for me, and also engaging in public forums was very validating for me. So to take all of these things together, what really helped me, what really healed me, at this point in my journey, I feel like it was just never giving up. If you never give up on yourself and you're open to different ways of healing, and you're open to being honest with yourself about how you got here and how you can prevent this in the future, I really think that if you're dedicated to healing and you don't give up, that you'll get there someday. You've got to. And if you don't put a time limit on yourself, and if you're patient with yourself, and you don't expect yourself to heal in a certain way, in a certain time, and you don't get frustrated with yourself for continuing to maybe miss the person that abused you, or just when you feel things that you think you, quote, shouldn't feel, that you're patient with yourself and you just allow yourself to feel the way you feel. You can't really control the way you feel, and you can't really speed up the healing process. You just need to be patient and have faith that if you're dedicated to your healing and you don't give up on yourself, and you commit yourself to not taking the easy ways out, that there will be an end, and it will be worth it, and you will feel better one day, and you will have joy and excitement and love in your life again. There are a lot of people out there that will try to sell you a solution, or sell you a program, or some secret technique, or 4-week plan, or whatever. And I'm not going to point any of those individuals out specifically, because I think some of them have some really great stuff that could really be helpful for you. But I don't do any of that stuff because I don't feel like I have any secret magic ingredient other than just validating how you feel and showing you an example of somebody that did heal. And really, I tried all kinds of things and I did all kinds of things that I hoped would end the pain, but what really ended the pain was just never giving up, was just continuing on the course and having faith that it would all be worth it someday. So that's really all I have to say in this video. The point is just, I know that when I was going through it, this is the kind of video that I would have found helpful. So I thought I would make it now and just tell you that it's going to be okay. You're going to make it through this, and no matter how long it takes, you will wake up one day and that pain won't be constantly present. It won't be the first thing you think of when you wake up. You might go a whole day without feeling any pain at all. You might go a whole day without even thinking about it. That's going to happen someday if you just keep fighting for yourself. You're worth this fight, and there is hope. There is an end. You won't be in this kind of pain forever. And I promise whatever technique might work for you, you're going to find it if you just never give up. I believe that the ultimate technique that worked for me was just never giving up. I didn't give up, and you don't have to give up either. You can get through this. I healed, and you can too. I hope this helps. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and comment below any ideas you have for me for future videos. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you like this video and would like to see more like it in the future. Until next time, thanks. Bye.